Welcome everyone, it's Hazmy here, and I'd like to introduce you and welcome you all to this mini-series I'd like to dedicate towards the coming of Big Run. The aim of this mini-series will be to prepare everyone, but especially newcomers to Salmon Run, have a good understanding of the game mode, introduce important basic strategies, and help everyone enjoy the event more or potentially get closer to earning a Big Run trophy ourselves. The mini-series will be 3 parts long that I will release every day until Big Run, and I will go from the very basics of helping freelance groups into some more advanced strategies that will help you in group play. Since I release almost daily Salmon Run videos, my channel is also full of further guides and tips videos, so feel free to look through them if you're interested in more. And with that, let's start. Today's first episode will be about the basics and what everyone should know about Big Run and in general for Salmon Run. I won't be starting from Adam and Eve, don't worry, so for everyone watching, I assume you at least know how Salmon Run works and you have done the tutorials and played some games. Now, Big Run is going to be a special event happening on the weekend that will happen on the map that we have never played on with Salmon Run, Wahoo World, and it is going to be a so-called wildcard weekend that makes things even funnier. Wildcard weekends are special events when the weapons you get every wave will be randomized instead of the fixed 4 weapons you usually have for a single rotation, meaning each wave you can get anything. Since both the map and the weapons are uncertain for Big Run, it is even more vital for everyone to make sure you know the basics and focus on your fundamentals to make sure you'll have as much success as possible. The next important thing to know about Big Run and the part the series is meant to prepare you for is that it's sort of a competition similar to Splatfest. According to public announcements, Big Run will be rewarding players based on their performance in Wahoo World. More specifically, you will get special trophies based on your best Salmon Run shift you'll have over the weekend. The example image they shared can give you an idea what to expect, so basically the goal during the weekend is to gather as many golden eggs as possible during one single shift with your coworkers, and if you make it into any of these categories, you will be rewarded at the end of Big Run based on your score. Now, of course, if you don't care about competition, don't let anyone sway you. Just have fun and don't worry about any of this. And while the series is here to help you achieve this goal, it can also just help you enjoy Salmon Run more in general. The activity of gathering as many eggs as possible isn't new to Salmon Run, and in fact it already exists in the form of something called overfishing. Players in Overfishing strive to extend the boundaries of Salmon Run and create further challenges by working out new and wild strategies to collect even more golden eggs during shifts, and have been known to reach as far as over 200 golden eggs even. To accomplish this, it is vital to know the basics of what is important in Salmon Run, how to work together with your coworkers, what your weapons are good for, and constantly improve your multitasking and game awareness so that you're always working towards gathering more and more eggs. Here the goal is no longer just to survive the wave, but to battle time and push the limits. We have built various habits and strategies in Freelance that have worked in normal Salmon Run, but when the goal is to gather as many eggs as possible, sometimes you have to throw out some of those strategies and open up yourself to new ones. The first thing to consider for Big Run is whether you'll try to participate as a solo freelancer or potentially with friends or other coworkers in an organized group. Contrary to the popular belief that freelance is a disaster, I'd like to stress that it is entirely possible and feasible to reach good scores even in freelance, and it is not a necessity to find a group to have a good chance of scoring high during Big Run. But having a group and especially voice communication can greatly increase your chances. At the same time, remember that if you haven't played with others before, creating a random group can also be just as much a detriment if the players in the team are not compatible with each other or have completely different playstyles, in which case it can completely stall your progress in improving or getting a good score. I had several organized groups where players made constant bad decisions simply because they were not used to playing in a group together, and overall we all had a worse experience than in Freelance. At the same time, I also had groups where it was a breeze all the way to the highest of ranks. The greatest difference between playing Freelance versus playing with a group is trust and selfishness. In a group, you can potentially trust your teammate to go for that stinger or big shot on the shore, and you will know that you can safely go to the opposite side to collect some eggs, as that stinger shooting you will be gone in moments. You're taking a risk because you know that you can do this, and you can push a group this way to play more efficiently and collect eggs from multiple sides of the stage at the very same time. In contrast, in Freelance, you're basically forced to play selfishly and without trust. Now, don't take this to the extremes. I don't mean you never help your coworkers, but in Freelance you learn over a lot of games that you can only afford to help your team if you can also guarantee your own safety first. Too many times, even if you take even a minor risk in order to help your team, it can backfire immediately, and while it is expected to get revived, it actually never happens, or lightning strikes and the whole team splats at the same time even when you don't even expect it. In Freelance, you almost have to assume your team cannot react to imminent danger, and so it is your responsibility alone to prioritize what to do first in order to survive, and this can be to the detriment of collecting more golden eggs. But as your rank goes higher, you meet more and more teammates who know the fundamentals to Salmon Run, and slowly you will notice that you can expect your teammates to do certain things, such as collecting eggs you throw closer from a shore, or take care of the big shot together on a shore, and so on. In a group, it's all about synergy and knowing how to play together, whereas in Freelance, it's all about constant decision making and awareness to adjust to your current team and situations. Speaking about adjusting and awareness, we also arrived to the next part in the video, which is about weapon roles. Weapon roles exist in Salmon Run even though they are not as defined like in PvP. It's not as simple as to just cover your team from behind or go ahead and split some things. Each weapon has a set of strengths and weaknesses, and it complicates how you're supposed to play with them during your rotation. And knowing your own weapon isn't enough either, as you have to know the strengths and weaknesses of your coworkers' weapons too in order to make a good decision. It's a very important skill to learn, and that's also why I have a weekly video every Monday going through every weapon for that week to help understand weapon roles so that you don't leave your teammates in a pickle when it really counts. It is not enough to know that your Splooshomatic is great against big shots or clearing hordes, when you have a roller in your team for instance, as when a stinger spawns you don't want to let that poor dynamo roller go for it to try to handle that boss. Instead you can handle the stinger much safer and allow your team to prioritize other parts of the stage. Or if you see a steelhead approach the basket, you don't want to let that Clash Blaster jump around in panic trying to split it along with all the lessers around it, while you could easily one-shot the steelhead with your Splat Charger instead of clowning around with that fish stick. Weapon roles are not only important so that you know what you can easily handle and what's a dangerous situation for yourself in order to use time more efficiently, but also to know what's dangerous for your teammates so that you can help out when it's needed. Knowing these roles will be especially important during Big Run, as it's a random weapon rotation and each wave anything can happen. So it's best to prepare and make a list for yourself if it helps of what weapons are good at and what is their weakness, for which I can always recommend my Salmon Report episodes to gather more information. The final section of today's episode is about special weapon usage. In normal Salmon Run shifts, it's often recommended to try to save up your specials to the very last moments and stall until round 3, which is not always the best decision to make. Specials are either something players forget to use at all, despite their incredible strengths to turn the tides of a lost shift into a safe one, or they are only used when things are already out of hands. In reality, the main use of specials should be to prevent hot situations in the first place and keep a steady pace for your wave. You shouldn't use a wave breaker when the basket is already overrun, but when you see this might get too much. Likewise, you need to use your killer whale when you see the 2 stingers and a flyfish spawn, and you know the team can't handle that right now, and not when already they splatted 2 of your teammates and you're barely alive. In normal Salmon Run, it is far more useful to use your specials even in Wave 1 to prevent losing 20 points in rank than to save it up for the 3rd wave where you might not even need it. There are no set rules for using your specials, but they are there to prevent the team from getting overwhelmed, and it is important to recognize those situations ahead of time before it's too late. For overfishing, this is different, and you break the rules of normal Salmon Run. Specials are no longer used to survive the wave, but to gather even more eggs that normally you wouldn't be able to. This includes using specials to split multiple bosses that you can normally handle, but is much faster if you use your special on them. Using a special on a night wave such as Wave Breaker to allow the team to collect all the golden eggs on the ground, going way above the required quota instead of having to focus on survival. Great examples for this are the Griller waves, where often you have more than enough eggs on the ground, but teams instead struggle with collecting them for the quota or collecting even more. Value specials can give the team time to gather all those eggs and even more, instead of having to play carefully against the grillers running around the basket. Another example is using a special on a mothership, which I normally don't recommend. But for overfishing, the time it takes to damage the mothership on the basket is a huge waste of time. You could instead spend that time gathering even more golden eggs, especially considering how easy the wave is. Using a special to push the mothership away lets your whole team splat more of the Chinooks and their boxes that you would otherwise miss out on, and net you potentially even 15 more eggs. Knowing these basics and fundamentals and using them in practice is vital to have more fun and also success in Salmon Run, and will be of great use in the coming Big Run. Simply knowing weapon roles instead of just guessing in the heat of wave when you should focus on the game instead will massively increase your ability to win in Salmon Run, and the same goes for recognizing danger and when your team needs you to use a special or help with a certain boss. In the next episode, we're going to explore the concept of luring and how salmonids can in fact help you gather more eggs during your waves, and why you should be conscious about whether or not you should splat snatcher salmonids carrying eggs. As always, leave your comments below whether there are more tips or questions, and look forward to the next episode of this mini-series. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time.